All right.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. And he is back from his trip down to Miami, all that business down there in the crypto capital of the US, right? Big Beat, how we doing?
Howard, I think everywhere that I went, everybody was talking about Bitcoin and the prices that were moving and hitting 100,000. Look, it just went absolutely ballistic down there. People bringing their cell phones out and saying, "Hey, look at the price, dude! Did you know Bitcoin was going to move here to 100,000?" And
Right.
I've been talking about that for I don't know since February. Yeah, I'm aware where we're going to go. I never doubted one bit. There's a little bit of a pullback here, obviously, but this does not scare me. We knew that was going to happen, and of course, with all of the news talking about that, heck yeah, man, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with any of the news has been pretty positive. Although the last thing I saw on CNBC right before we came on was somebody from the legacy banking system saying how they didn't cut off the crypto industry from banking. And we've seen so many examples. I would love to get on a little one-on-one with her to have those discussions because we've seen people like Caitlin Long and Senator Cynthia Loomis, along with Brian Armstrong and Mark Anderson and all those guys show how their accounts were shut down. So we'll see what she has to say there to that. Um, Steve, again, it all the news right now is about the president elect, right? I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's as if that he's already taken over. I've never seen this. That's why I wanted to ask you. I mean, I have never seen this. And I mean, I spent a lot of time in DC, you much closely. Have you ever seen an administration just sort of step away and get out of the way?
No. Look, there's always things when you see a transition. There's always going to be some tit for tat, and of course, we saw what I in January 6th in the last administration coming in. But, when you look at this case of Trump, he's very strong in what he's thinking about doing in his plan, right? His people coming in, there's are some issues here. I mean, people are stepping out. Hey, the minute you sign, hey, you gotta have a background check to be in the government. Half of them started to start.
We heard a lot. Not even the background check. A lot of them couldn't divest. I forget. I
Right.
forget who it was that they talked about that was up for U.S. Treasury and pulled himself out of the thing because they just said, "Hey, I think it was Polson. I
Right.
can't. I can't divest
Yeah,
enough to make it."
Paulson's a good example of that. Well, no, Hegseth beating his family. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous what's going on, right? But when you talk about hogging the news and being the forefront, he is a master of the news. Let's not lie
Yeah,
about that. He
there
understands.
is no doubt there. You can say what you want about anything, but he knows how to get in front of the news. He was all over the place. And here's one thing that I've noticed is he's showing up everywhere. In other words, he's not afraid, and that's one thing about him that you could always say. He's not afraid to go on MSNBC and, say what he thinks. So I like that
Well,
he's
now he's
getting
president elect, so he can say what he and they have
right.
to listen to him,
Sort of
right?
give a little more respect to it. But I think that part's been good. While you were gone, obviously we saw him step in to go to the Ukraine, really get involved there. He sort of laid out the gauntlet in the Middle East. We saw oil sort of drop down on those newses. It seems like those tensions. We'll see. I was surprised. I thought after Syria that we would see a jump up in oil. It really didn't. I guess I think that that's part of it. Maybe is that people feel that we're in a good seat here for that. As we look at indices before we go, yep, Bitcoin back below 100. And I gotta say, you can see that now that it made that second big move through 100, you seem to be more confident because you didn't come out and yell at me first thing this morning that it's back below 100. Why is that? So I do appreciate that you are okay with where it's at now. Ethereum made a nice move up, finally hit 4,000 for the first time in a while, and we're seeing the alts move up. Gold finally back above that 2650. So I guess your interview with Peter Thomas finally got things moving there because we were stuck under that level for a while here. Natural gas, Steve. Oh, it's dropped down a little bit here this morning. It was about 313 when I woke up this morning, started looking, was getting ready to give you your congratulations there. It was up about 5%, 6% from where you had been looking at it. Are you still in that? I know it was meant to be a long-term one, but sometimes when you get that quick jump, you are one to take
You'll
profit.
be
So
absolutely right. I took my profit and ran.
yeah, I
Look,
know you.
it's very simple to me. When I saw, I mean, we talk about under $3 on nat
Yeah,
gas. It's a buy. Here we're at 310 now, but I think it goes higher. This morning it was around 330. It was pretty obvious to me where we were going. It's been a cold start to the winter already, and look, I know we have a glutton of nat gas right now. They did that with the stockpiling because they wanted to do that, but let's be honest, we are now an exporter of gas.
right.
Yes, I get it. LNG, liquefied natural gas, means we put it in cold storage and send it out. Uh, but look, let's be real honest here. It's going to be a very cold winter. We know that. Look, if you just use Quasar Markets AI, if you look at our weather, you look at our, and by the way, we have a lot of new products within Quasar Markets. One of them I just noticed this morning with the weather was Google Trends. We're seeing everybody starting to hit up Google for what's the weather today because it's colder, right? It's 50 degrees
Sure.
here in Florida, right? That's not normal. To me, I saw that last 2 weeks ago coming through, and yeah, we got a week, and oh, but that's only be a couple of days. We kept hearing the news; they're wrong. Guess what? Our system caught that and said, "Look, no, actually, you're going to have a very cold winter." And that's why they were building up the natural gas, and that's why the price slipped a bit. Now all of a sudden we're burning through that pretty quickly. You're starting to see that now, and with that happening, the price goes up. And
Yeah.
so when you have less supply and this bigger demand, that's when the price goes up. So yeah, look, it's very simple to me. The thesis, you've got to stick with it, right? You can't just say, oh no. A good thesis of that we've been hearing about was Nvidia. I think we'll talk about that today, right? With China calling Nvidia a big monopolist,
Yeah.
these anti-monopoly laws that they have in China. Guess what? That hurts Nvidia's stock price. So we knew that last week. And we talked about that Nvidia might be sitting here pretty much. It's going to take a little while. Look, we've also said a couple things here. Disney, we know the parks are freaking packed, and they are. Guess what? Lots of new shows on Disney. It's happening. Games are being played. Guess what? That's ABC and sports and ESPN. Where's Disney at today? Right, 116.73. We were telling everybody to buy it under anything under was a buy. That's
Yeah.
16-17% return just if we got to 100. Um, Look, this isn't hard to understand. It's thesis trading, and we're seeing all of that now starting to play out. And look, and you're saying it. You said it this morning with Trump, right? You're totally right. Look, he's telling you what he's going to do, so listen to him. I've always complained about some of his policies, but the truth of the matter is that the guy says he's going to do it, he pretty much is going to do it. Now, whether or not he gets it done, rarely, right? The
Right.
man can't. He has a hard time following through. But if he
He's going to
says he's going
start
to
it.
start,
Let's put it that way, right?
he
He's
knows how
definitely
to
going to.
start
He's
something.
going to give it a big. And he's going to give it a big start. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mag 7 getting hit pretty hard here this morning across the board. 5 of the 7 down. Meta and Tesla up. Tesla looking nice here. Again, that's on China news. They have come out again for it. I feel like it's now moved. My life used to be China's going to ban Bitcoin again, so let's see what happens when they do it. Now my life is China's going to give another stimulus package. How much did Baba and JD move up today just to dump tomorrow? So that's where we seem to be. And as Stephen Flanagan has mentioned, they're great at starting their stimulus. They're also not so great on the follow through. So we do see a big move up today, by the way, in China stocks across the board as they did announce a new stimulus there. Steve, while you were gone, France did the no confident vote, and surprisingly, it was sort of a lackluster. Not much happened. Didn't really move the euro. Didn't really move European stocks. In fact, the stocks gained in the 2 days following. So that sort of ended up being a little bit less than dramatic there. While you were gone, trading volumes were pretty down. Across
Yeah.
the board. We're seeing that. Excuse me. Anything else? What are you looking at for this week? I know we got PMI coming up, or CPI coming up tomorrow. We got deficit on Wednesday. Anything you're sort of looking at there from economic data?
Yeah, you know what I am looking at, and it's interestingly enough, I'm going to see it today at around 11:30 Eastern time, is the bill auction. How much appetite is there in the bond market? If the bond market still has some serious appetite, that means people are moving money out of the stock market into the bond market. I don't think so. The bond auction starts happening. We'll see a 3 month, 6 month bills. We'll also see. I'll tell you another thing that I'm interested in, and that's not in the United States. It's in Japan. Today, we're going to see money supply. We're also going to see exports in Korea. We're going to see whether or not Korea is still getting those Apple phones out. And let me tell you why I'm thinking that. I just saw another commercial on TV for AT&T. Verizon's been doing it now for a while. AT&T's been several ads right now that if you buy and you will get a new phone from AT&T, you will get a new phone from Verizon. And when you do that, we'll give you 4 free phones. T-Mobile, we now have Snoop Dogg says if you get T-Mobile, we'll give you 4 free phones for free. What? For Apple, iPhone 16 Pro. What? AT&T says today that if you buy a phone from them, you'll get the Apple iPhone 16 Pro. Guess what else you'll get? An Apple Watch and an iPad. What?
Yeah,
For
that's a
$22
little
a month.
deceiving as someone who's actually in the process of doing that because my dad broke his phone. We're on a plan together, so he was here, so I have to deal with that now because that's one of my things I do for him is take care of our phones.
Of course you
Um,
do.
you're locked
But
in for what it is it is true. You will get free phones for most of them up to about $1,000. And it's over 36 months that they pay that off, so you're locked into them for three
okay, so but
years.
but $2 a
And
month at
yeah,
36
I mean,
months.
I actually think, my question is, I've never understood what if they're getting. Where's that money coming from? Is it a combination between Apple and the provider? Is the provider doing it because Apple's a big draw and that gets people to switch their thing? So I
That's
don't
correct.
fully understand how that breaks down. But the
I'll
way
tell
I
you how
look at it is, I
it
think
is.
Apple gets its money. So for me, that's a win
Right.
for Apple, I guess.
Correct. What it is it's older products. It's not a brand new. Yes, you get
Well,
a
they're
new
not giving
iPhone,
you right. They're trying to push the Pro
but they're
on
not
you.
giving you an
Right.
iPad.
If
They're
you
giving
want the
you
Pro Max, like the bigger one, I've got to pay like
they're
400
trying
still.
to get you into the ecosystem. And a couple
Exactly.
bills
That's
doesn't.
the key. That's the
I have
key.
an iPad, right? Okay,
Yeah.
great. But you know what? If I get a new iPhone 16, fantastic. But you know what? My cousin Bill doesn't have an iPad, and I'm gonna give him the iPad, and all of a sudden my aunt
The only
Sally
thing
doesn't get
there
any
is where they
phone.
get you is you got to buy the plan for it too, and again stay for
Correct.
3 years. And I made that mistake once on an iPad.
There
I'll
you
never
go.
do it again.
That's what I'm saying. You got to be in the ecosystem, right?
Yeah, well, it's subscriptions. It's subscriptions for
Correct.
them, like you said. You watch the subscriptions, and they know that. And the reason that I joke and say that is I broke my iPad and kept my subscription for 2 years because I forgot that I even had it, like
Ouch.
everybody else. You know what I mean? I was paying $20 a month. It was just under that thing that I noticed. It was part of my cell phone bill and cable bill. And next thing you know, 3 years later, I realized I'm paying for an iPad I haven't had. So, but
And
yeah,
hey,
you're
when
right.
you
They're
follow some
pushing them.
news,
I take that
news
more as
came
a
across here at Howard. TikTok has now filed an injunction to block the sale or ban of TikTok in the United States. Um, that is interesting to me. And guess what?
that
We
one's
just
going to
talked
battle
about.
out. That one is not. There is a spot where the FTC is not going to change under Trump. Is he is definitely going to cut that back on bite
Oh,
dance
I
and
think ByteDance is done in this country. I think TikTok is done. That's why I've never joined TikTok. I won't join TikTok. This company is a professional company. We won't be on TikTok. And look at we now know that it's gone. So I know there are a lot of people here that do like it, and that's fine too. But it's definitely not going to be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, eventually they'll sell if they have to. They'll sell to an American company. I mean, at some
That's
point
correct. I think that's what will
they'll just
happen
fight
eventually.
it
Well,
until it does.
Binance is the same thing, right? Binance US, so totally understandable. Yeah.
Yep, yeah. So that isn't too surprising there. Um, again, there's, unfortunately, it's where people are. The reason that it's under fire is it's where the younger generation is getting its information. It's where they're doing their search. Not on Google anymore, not on other websites. They're doing it on the social media sites themselves.
But to answer that question, Howard, inside the system, Google Trends is actually working. You can go do it right now. You can go look up countries. You can see what's popular in those countries, and guess what? All of it is in the AI, and it works great. This morning,
Nice,
I found AST space was really being searched everywhere on Google, and of course, now I went to go use our news, and our news found all the news and got really in depth. It was getting really cool. So I was very impressed with our tech team getting that implemented this week.
nice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff there, sir. We are looking at opening up QQQ down about 0.16%. SPY is pretty flat so far here before we open. Um, Seems like a lot of movement in the tech stocks again today. We have some earnings already that came out and have moved things in the right good direction. Momo up about 5.17% after earnings here this morning. Another interesting one that's not moving too far, MDB, MongoDB. Usually one of the most volatile stocks in the stock market has earnings today, and it's not moving all that much. I was a little surprised by that. It's normally a very, very volatile stock, but sort of just sitting flat here today. Do have some other earnings today. AI, I think that's one of the things that has a lot of the tech sector moving. They have their earnings. They were up 8% on Friday, up another almost 5%
I
here
don't, I
this
don't
morning.
understand, Howard.
Pre-market.
AI is dead. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's
Yeah,
dead.
absolutely.
I've heard all of this so many times, and guess what? It isn't dead. It's just in the first inning. AI is now being used by just about everybody. Chat GPT. I wrote an email and text the other day. I wanted to do a quick tweet. Chat GPT knocked it out for me, got it done. I sent it up there. That to me is efficiency. And I've been talking about that for 8 freaking years. Now here it is. The efficiency of me now writing a more professional tweet, getting more views is working very quickly, right? And that to me is what I'm saying. So when I look at AI, the picks and the shovels now are Nvidia's. The picks and the shovels are PLTR, Palantir. The picks and the shovels now are companies you didn't even expect. CRM, Salesforce, is totally using AI to know
Sure.
everything about your work habits. They want to know how well you're working, right? And now I figured out the weather pattern much faster. Guess what? I heard the National Weather Service is now using AI, and it's a better predictor of the weather. They say now it's a 40% better predictor of the weather, even longer term now.
Wow.
So this is just the beginning.
Absolutely. But A up almost 5% again here this morning. Oracle has earnings today. They've been up about 5% between Friday and pre-market moving. Planet Labs, which had been moving up nicely over the last year or so, they have about 5% move up here today. You can look, they've had a pretty parabolic move here since beginning of November. They have earnings today, so a lot of good earnings. We actually have AutoZone's another one I like to keep an eye on. Tells you if people are buying new cars, and if they're not, are they fixing their cars at AutoZone? ASO today, one of Aaron Scherz's favorite there. Big. I'll
Yeah.
be interested to see if they follow Dick's into a high earnings. And then another one that's sort of a sleeper to keep an eye on, UNFI, which is United Natural Foods Industries. After their last earnings, you can see here, they gapped up tremendously. I remember it caught me as soon as I saw that. They moved up from 1688 to about 22 on their last earnings, as we saw more and more people are getting into healthier
Are, are
eating habits.
are you shocked? I mean, we talked about this for like 4 months about how Zepbound and these companies are, and people are getting healthier. They're eating healthier. They're not eating junk food anymore, and they're moving over and they're eating more organic food. Now, let me tell you, DeFi, or I'm sorry, I should say, the world of ESG, instead of DeFi, ESG is dying for companies, but people themselves are actually doing it themselves. They are eating better. They're looking at going to a restaurant eating less. We're seeing lots of restaurants starting to close up now. Of course, this is exactly what's happening. And guess what they're doing? They're going to these companies. I just saw a show on Disney, Skeleton Crew, the new Disney show. And guess what the guy was talking about? Impossible Burger. I mean, what? He was talking about impossible lasagna, impossible. These are better, healthier choices. I not something I would eat, but hey,
Yeah, I'm not a,
that's me.
I'm one of those people who don't necessarily think that Impossible is healthier.
No,
It's just
I
it's
just
just it's just not meat based. It's a
whether
protein,
it's
it's not
healthy
meat
or
based.
not, they're
Yeah.
buying it. My point is,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. Yeah, so you are seeing that already happening, and
Yeah.
restaurants
Yeah.
are already
You and I, it
there.
looks like a good one. Could be an opportunity here today as that gets into it. I saw our boy Roaring Kitty was back in the news a little bit the end of last week. GME has
Can someone
earnings.
explain that tweet on Time Magazine or the computer? I don't know. I have no idea what he was tweeting
Yeah,
about.
I don't, I'm not, yeah, I mean, everyone, and what I think it is everyone's trying to think. Maybe it has something to do with earnings this week. Who knows? But yeah, he put a thing in there. There was a date of like January 4th and a time. So who knows what it is there. But those are the ones I'll be keeping an eye later this week. We have Vera Wang, Adobe, Broadcom, and then one of my favorites is one of the last ones to go here is Costco. So we'll see what we have here. A little bit of a swath, and then we really die off. Nothing on Friday. I will say I was going to talk a little bit about upgrades and downgrades. It's almost impossible. I guess all the analysts must do all their end of year work this today because there is literally, I have a list here of about 60 upgrades or downgrades. I will point out a couple of the ones that are seeming to move the market. Reddit got an upgrade. They are up about 5% here today on that news. Another one moving pretty well on the news is TS, up about 3.55% on an upgrade. AMD got hit on a downgrade. I was a little surprised by that with everything going on in the chip sector. SoFi also hit with a downgrade. They're down about 2.5%. KOD, Kodiak, was another one that actually got two upgrades. They're up about 7.28% here this morning in pre-market. So, like I said, there is a lot of them. Again, you can find those upgrades on the Quasar Market site. So get in there. You're able to pull those right up. That's where I got them this morning. Like I said, there's just almost too many to talk about. Steve, another one, as you know, I had talked about, when you had been there in that discussion about how these private equity and hedge fund companies were going to continue to be a winner under the new administration. Did you see Apollo is going to be the latest entry into the S&P 500? One of the early pioneers in that sort of area. Not surprising to me at all, but one that we definitely talked about, for a decent amount of time. And they're
You
moving
know,
up.
look, when I'm looking at these kind of companies, right? I think that for me, it's all about volume, right? Are people hitting this up with heavy volume? And yeah, I do think so.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the upgrades I saw on Schwab and Robinhood again. Like I said, there was a
Yeah.
million upgrades. I was reading through them. And those two both talked about, the increase in crypto being a big boon to Robinhood. And as more and more coins get their sort of regulatory clarity, that is where that younger generation, again, whether we like it or not, that is where they're trading. And then Schwab has obviously, their CEO came out last week and said that as they get more clarity, they will be entering the crypto, world as a brokerage. So both of those got upgrades there. I saw that on that news. So we'll be interesting to see. Again, Kodiak Science was the other one I was trying to pull up here that had a big move up. on their upgrades. Steve, what else are you watching for here as we get ready to start off our week?
I think for me, I'm going to be watching the tick today because look, guess what starts very soon is sports, football. We're going to about to see playoffs, college football, bowl games are coming up in the next few weeks. Holidays are coming up. Are people still having an appetite for trade? Are they still trading as heavily as they were the last few months? And I think the answer is going to be no. I think what we're going to see is that people starting to pull back a bit financially. I think there's a lot of people that are maybe hurting a little bit more than we think. I think the economy is not as good as we're hearing about. Yes, we're going to hear about employment trends and wholesale inventory and wholesale sales at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
But for me, I really want to know what the economy is doing. The consumer sentiment is going to be important to me and things of that nature. So
So far, I
yeah,
mean, the fear and greed factors, the risk factors are actually all pretty high in the green right now. So we'll see if that changes going in
too
after
high
this
degree for
morning.
me, right? Exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah, they're in there, and yeah, I mean that's
How about the fall of Syria with Assad leaving, going to what? Going to Russia. He looked for asylum in Russia. And of course they gave it to him. So that tells me the world is still aligning. But when people are getting tired of their regimes, they rose up. So guess what? Assad is out. So Syria, Israel is taking over part of southern Syria. There is some serious geopolitical issues still going on, and that's also bothering people too as well.
yeah, definitely issues over there in Syria. We'll see how that plays out. To me, Turkey being sort of the lead player in that game right now, and that's not something you really want much of.
And I see Schwab right now talking about the bond market. What's the trend right now? I want to know what that auction's going to do. If that auction says to me, hey, you know what? There's a huge appetite for the bonds, and we're starting to. If we see the 10 year start to slip a bit, that means there's too much appetite, right? That they don't need to keep raising rates. So, and that'll put pressure on whether or not the Feds actually raise or lower rates. I think they're going to lower rates one more time by a quarter point. And you heard over the last few days talking about Trump. Trump says he's not going to go after Fed Chair Powell. So okay, all right, Powell's job is not in jeopardy. Now it was in jeopardy anyway. Sorry to burst Trump's bubble there. He can't lose his job, not because of the president. He's locked in at least for the 2 more years. But he's not going to go after him. So
Yep.
all right, let's work with the Fed. Let's get Fed working. Let's get the economy moving again. And I agree with that. That's not that. At least he understands the rules and laws now and is playing along again. So let's try to understand that. And you see where Elon Musk is also running around with, Department of Government Efficiency and Vivek Ramaswamy. They're talking about how they're going to cut some of the government the waste. You know what I saw over the weekend when I was looking at going through the numbers of unemployment and employment trends is government employment has gone up, gone down in the federal government, but in local and state governments, the numbers have exploded over the last 2 months because the brain drain out of Washington. Okay, great. You don't want me to have my job. You don't. Okay, I'll go work the state government, and the state government is picking up some pretty good smart people here. And I think that to me tells me a lot. Tells me that look, they're going to, and I want to know what states are going to go to, right? Are they going to go to New York and California? Are they going to go to Florida? Are they going to go some of the states in the Midwest? Are they going to start to retire a little bit? Maybe. You know what? Lowering the size of government's not a bad thing. It's not going to change the federal government's debt, but it will make it more efficient. And I'm okay with that, right? So let's see where those people, those government employees, where they actually go. And that'll tell me a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. There'll definitely going to be changes coming, or at least talk of change. So we'll see if there's any follow through to that, and if it actually can make a difference. Two companies I honestly am not that familiar with merged today in a biggest deal ever when it comes to advertising, Interpublic and Omnicom.
Mm, yeah.
Will this get through, first of all? I mean, this is the two largest in their industry. We've seen our FTC go after, less. Is this already a play for the fact that the new administration's coming in, or, what do you think here, Steve?
January 20th will change all. FTC is done. Lena Khan is out. Gensler is out. Look, these companies that want to start merging and start to do will do very well. I saw over the weekend Spirit Airlines, SAVE, CEO was complaining about the FTC that this should not have happened, that they were trying to
Yep.
get rid of them as a company, and they're right. And Lena Khan messed up the government. I mean, sorry, messed up some of these
These companies, yeah. Now, How did
companies.
how did
Yeah,
how did she protect the public and the stockholders?
she
Now
did
their
not.
stock's worth
She
zero.
screwed them. She screwed them
Yeah,
hard,
I mean, it's
and
just like I
I'm
said. It
just
was the same thing with that lady that's from the legacy finance banking business saying we didn't do anything. We didn't do that. No, you did. It's been proven. Everybody has the
lied.
emails now. Everybody, under a freedom of it. What she doesn't realize is under a Freedom of Information Act, Coinbase was able to petition for the FTC's emails, and they have internal FTC and
They wrote the
FCC.
FD.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all of these things
they
they
told the
have the
FDIC, and the
emails
FDIC
where
told the
they
banks
where
not to
they
give it.
yeah, where they basically said, and she tried to, where she really went wrong is where you have to be careful is make sure you disconnect yourself from things, because she brought up good points in that some businesses probably should have been debanked because they weren't following proper KYC, AML, have the compliance, in fact, so the banks did that. But Brian Armstrong as an individual being unbanked, Mark Anderson as an individual being unbanked, Custodia Bank, who had a national charter, basically being unbanked. You can't talk to those things and with any common sense and
And
have people
we're open
believe.
now, and SMCI here now up almost 8% here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now that they did it, I see Ron Williams saying good morning to everybody here. Steve,
Yeah,
you wanted to say hi.
SMCI pulling back just a wee bit here on that open.
Yep, yeah. Here we go. Let's see what we get here. We
Tick up
are open.
210.
Tick
Here we
is
go. Advanced
starting up.
decline line already pushing up 2,700 here on the advanced decline line. So that tells me that people are buyers here.
Yeah, tick's positive 176. Interesting though, they're not buying in the QQQ, so it looks like we got
No,
Ruts up about a half a point already. So it looks like a bigger move to the small caps. I did see some analysts warning that there seems to be, riskier to a lot of people piling into that IWM and some of these other smaller caps to maybe be a little bit wary there. Don't get too far ahead of yourself when it comes to that. So one thing I'll be keeping an eye on there. In fact,
we're
QQQ's.
seeing even more selling here in SMCI now, only up 6.7%. That was pretty obvious there. I thought that short.
Yeah, and QQQ moving to the downside here as we're opening up. Now trying to get back to at least that -2 that it was at earlier today. First moves on Bitcoin are a little positive, back
99.2,
above
yeah,
99. Yep.
yeah.
Ethereum trying to get back above 3,900 there. Will mention I saw the first Solana fund commercials out there. Osprey does have a Solana based fund. I do think that I've made it no secret. I do think Solana and XRP will be two of the next ETFs that you see out there. So not just funds. So one is to keep an eye on because again, that has been a move up, whether it be Bitcoin or Ethereum, as those ETFs launch and have to sort of start purchasing. They've definitely all moved up on that news. Gold holding up above 2650 here.
So one of the things about the weather here and with Trump coming in, I am getting interested in BTU here, Peabody, getting pretty close here. Not
Okay.
quite there yet, but I'm starting to feel it there that now bottoms starting to come in. And as I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago, I like it. And I sort of like the actual pricing though of it too as well.
Okay. I will mention that I am very interested in Nvidia here on any pullback to the 50-day MA. It is pretty close to it right now. I think it's about 132 in that area. It has respected that spot very nicely in the past. So I am very interested on a pullback at Nvidia to its 50-day MA. Definitely one to keep an eye on here. Give me 1 second. I'll give you exactly what that is. In fact, it's almost at it right now. We're
Like I
looking.
say, aren't we pretty much at the 50
Yeah,
day
that
here now?
drops right at it. So I might be a buyer of Nvidia here. And part of my reasoning is you've got a good support zone down to 131.30 32 or so, you've got a liquidity zone it's in right now, just below it, that has provided good support. If you look at that daily chart, Steve, here,
Yeah, I
we
would I would say give it a little more time because the RSI to me feels a little choppy here. I don't like it just yet, and there is some news, as we all know, with the China issue. So I'm not. Yeah, 138 just broke through. Yeah,
But one I'm definitely watching here. I did look into
wow.
that China news already. It's about 5 billion of the 35 billion in revenue they have. So while a significant portion, not the majority of their business, and I do feel that if they were offered by the fact that Elon was willing to spend a surplus to get those Blackwell chips, it wouldn't surprise me if that actually becomes a boon for American companies, right? If they shut China off, then the American based companies will be able to get more access, and the crypto mining companies in America will get more access to those NVIDIA chips. So that's sort of my thesis on it. I think NVIDIA, it's sort of like Bitcoin. It doesn't care about China.
Yeah,
It's
I
too
didn't care
big.
one bit about China. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my
And
that's my
I'm
thesis here.
hearing now that the people, shareholders of Amazon, wants Amazon to hold Bitcoin on their ledger as well.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
what that means exactly, because I'll
I
have to
do.
go
I
with the
want people to
joke that
buy
we saw
calls on
answer to that.
Amazon.
The joke was where Ron said no one asked him, what does that
Yeah, so
mean?
I want to
It's
buy
that's like
products on
that's
Amazon.
like when Wall Street Bets tells, Coinbase they want them to list the new meme coin they made together. Just because they want it doesn't mean. I'm more interested to see if you actually see it on the Microsoft side where their board met with Michael Saylor. That's the stuff that to me matters because Bezos has never really been a pro crypto guy. He's been on the fringes.
No.
He was interested for about a minute when he thought, like Meta, that he could make his own currency and sort of, be bigger than the government. And then when that sort of got shot down, he hasn't been a
All
real
right, I
big
just bought
player.
Nvidia here. We keep talking about Nvidia. Why not?
Sure, you tell me it's too soon, and then you go and buy it on me,
Yeah,
Steve.
you keep talking about it. I'm like, why
Well, I
not?
mean, listen, like I said, you know that I combine thesis with technical analysis a lot. And, my fundamental is China is not that big of a deal. 5 billion out of 35. And Elon's throwing, ready to buy 10 billion, raising money to buy 10 billion extra in chips.
Right.
So, that's where I just start putting those numbers and it's taking off from here. 138.62. There you go.
38.48.
Um, And I was more talking about that as a longer term play, Steve, not exactly a quick scalp like you are there. I'm going to take a look at some covered calls for a little bit further down the road. There myself, I am not a big player at that price point. But yeah, I just think that's a play in my opinion. Is that it's going to set new all time highs. It pulled back to this 50,
There we
and
go. A
if
little
you
pop here now.
and if
Yeah.
you look, that 50-day has played up real nicely in the past here. So we'll keep an eye on NVIDIA with Steve in there now. Let me put that on my list here. Um, Trying to think of what else I was looking at this morning as ones I was interested in.
And I do have a limit order to sell, but a little higher than we are here. So
Okay. MSTR, Michael Saylor, like we said, has been all over the news hyping up MSTR. Um, we'll see what we get there.
we're tick now up to 227 here. And yeah, Bitcoin now pushing right back up. And it's really serious trading here going on today.
Does seem like volume's moving back in a little bit here this morning. So maybe people are back from vacation, took a little bit longer, and now moving. MicroStrategy getting hit pretty hard here after making a move up in the pre-market. Seems to be the way it's been moving lately. It moves up in the pre-market, gives it back most of the day, and then as soon as the 4 o'clock comes, looks like those traders tend to be the pre-market and post-market traders. BITF pulling back a little bit. That might give me the entry I'm looking for there. What I'm interested in.
Yeah, there we go. 90. Come on, baby. 99.3 now.
We'll get
Yeah,
back up
it's
to about
holding up
100.
strong. It is definitely holding up strong. I think you mentioned Sailor talked about buying 10 billion more. Is that was you
Oh
that
yeah,
posted that?
he ain't done yet. He
Oh,
keeps saying I'm
he's definitely not done. You know, Ron putting out PayPal getting some serious attention. Not surprising. Again, the crypto czar that was just named David Sachs was one of the PayPal mafia, so they should be a big winner. I did see they got an upgrade also, Ron, from in an analyst upgrade today. They're going to be a winner when it comes to crypto trading. They're on the front end of that. A lot of integrations there, and you've got to assume again, with one of their founders now going to be the head of AI. And hey, Steve, that's another one I forgot. You were gone when that came out. Were you surprised that they combined that role? I love that combination. AI and crypto czar.
It's two massive areas, but if they can come away with it, maybe they can split it up inside the bureau. I can understand that.
For me, it's
But
about quantum computing, which is going to be the
correct,
backbone, so to speak, of both of them
correct.
down the road. So that was why I like the two
Yeah.
together. I think, that takes, take it out of the past and move it into the future is the way I looked at that is as opposed to trying to roll crypto into legacy, let's tier it with technology and AI and let's innovate in that area. So that's why I was actually, I really liked to see that personally. I thought that is good. And like you talked about, it's already built into everything. Whatever you're using has got AI built into it one way or the other.
If
So,
you don't,
into
you're
that.
not in the future. I mean, you're done pretty much. Your company is pretty much over. You have to have AI at this point, because every company is going to pass you up.
Yeah.
You just
And for
that's
those
it.
that don't know, David Sachs is very much a technologist. This is a guy that,
Correct.
along with Elon and Peter Thiel and some of these, I always forget who's the gentleman in charge of Palantir. Um, but those guys are sort of the geniuses of their generation at both running companies and being able to, be at the forefront of technology. So we'll see how that plays out. Palantir definitely has just been on a roll, and again, it's not going to stop. It's like I said with Nvidia here. These are ones that are just as you said, AI isn't going away. The picks and shovels. Palantir is the connection between AI and the Defense Department. How much AI do you think is going to be put into our Defense Department at some point, Steve?
We won't even be fighting wars with people. It'll be
Right, it's
fighting wars with
drones. It's going to
drones
be
and
these
AI.
drones and other stuff. I'm with you there. I couldn't agree more with that. Um, that without a doubt.
And I am taking my profit here on Nvidia here. So 138.99 looks like I'm out at.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go, buddy.
So
I
I
like
was
to, see, I try to talk into a good one now and again. For all the trades you've given me over the years, at least I feel good I gave you one back there, buddy.
and we're seeing now 99.6 now on Bitcoin, right back up. Looks like Sailor's having a fun day today. I'm enjoying buying right now 98, 99.7 now, already back onto it. So we'll be back at 100,000 here probably before before we're even off the air. It looks
Yeah, it
like.
could very much be. I think, what we'd like to see here is, if we're looking at Bitcoin, is to find a nice little home here where we trade sideways in that 98 to 101 area for the next week or so. And that will
Oh,
put us in a stage to make our next move up. Again, what I get nervous about and oh, Steve, you weren't here for the flash crash last week. So we had our biggest liquidations in a couple of years.
I definitely saw it
Half a billion
live.
went off in a half hour. It cleared it all out. But my biggest takeaway that I went through with the people here at Quasar Markets that next day was, did you see it move back from 92 to 99 in 5 minutes, Steve? Five
Yes,
minutes.
well, I did. I was watching it live as it happened. Was sitting and watching my phone, going, "What the heck?" My alarms went off, and I was like, "Oh, there it is! All the levers that Howard talks about. Everybody's levered up. The whales went berserk and had fun with it,
Yep.
and sopped up
Waited
all
till
the
5:20 like they always do, either 5:20 or around 2 a.m.
yeah, so that the options and the derivatives couldn't
Right.
get
It
involved.
didn't affect their options. It moved up and down. So here's
Didn't
what I
hit it
want to
even
bring
though
up. is if
It's
I'm a
always even
company
more
like
happens.
BlackRock, right? If I'm a company like BlackRock that's now so heavily in that market, it's the number one market maker when it comes to Bitcoin right now outside of Saylor. And I can move the market, the spot market, at 5:20 in the afternoon, cause a flash crush. I can clean up the spot market, and by the time my options open the next day, guess what we were back at?
Right
We
back
were
where we
actually
were.
up, Steve.
Yeah.
So if you don't think that that was a market maker, if that wasn't the jump capitals of the world and the Black Rocks and the Grayscales, you are incorrect. And it was a very well orchestrated move. It's why, though, I also tell you what, have those buy orders in. I was talking with one of our
Always.
big viewers here, Zora, who's on all the time, and she was upset with it. Oh, I see. She actually just came in. I didn't notice she just came into our chat again. She's here in our room right now. Hi, Zora. Hope you're having a good weekend. And we were talking on Friday about making sure you have those orders in place because, you get that wish list filled on crypto in off hours. So, I know I've put a couple in right now at that 91 area. Because I think what that proved is you're going to have trouble getting back below 90. We are going to have a lot of trouble getting back below 90 here.
We're there. It is 99.7. We just talked
Yeah.
about it. I'm not scared, as I always say. Here we go, 99.7. I think we'll be at 90. We'll probably hit 100 before we're off the air here. I think probably.
Yeah, it is. It is insane. There's nothing but momentum there, and you're going to continue to see it come in. I did think it was interesting too, Steve. That person who was very negative, and she was from Lead Bank, which I've never heard of.
Okay, yeah.
But that
Got it.
was sort of saying that no, there is no choke point 2.0 in that. She was talking though that the fintech companies, because she was really being pushed as to say who's going to be a loser in this new world. Is it legacy banks? And she's like, not really, because they're jumping in quick. BlackRock's getting
They're
in,
not
and
okay.
yeah,
All
they're
right.
already ready. J.P. Morgan's been waiting for this type of stuff. They were already ready, and it's funny
Wait.
because
Let's go back here. J.P. Morgan,
yeah,
Jamie Dimon, the guy. You're talking about the guy who said he would fire anybody who, if they were trading crypto, and his
yeah,
daughter was
and working
trading
for him. Yeah.
crypto, and all of a sudden they're the biggest player now in the Bitcoin market. A shock.
Yeah,
Are you really
and
absolutely
all these
shocked?
companies, and she made it clear that BlackRock is leading the way, and that the others are going to follow because what has BlackRock proven? They're probably the most profitable, because let's face it, BlackRock's not even in until now private debt, which has been the biggest driver in that market over the last few years. That's why I'm so interested in BlackRock personally, is that they're just getting into that. I just don't know if it's already priced in because they just made the big purchase of that company. But I do think private equity is going to win in this next handle. I think they're very much have their hands around
Private equity
crypto.
wins in every handle.
Yeah, you're right. And like we said, Apollo named to the S&P 500. Not surprising. I brought that up.
And what did I just say? There it is, 100,000. I said before we get off the air, we'll be back over
You
100,000.
nailed it. Yeah. And again, what we try to look at here that we've talked about a lot is what's happening in the difference. Is there a difference in what's happening in the um, ETFs and in the price? And there is a little bit. So we're seeing a little bit
Yeah,
of a
there is.
sell-off in the ETFs here this morning. So I will say be a little weary as we get into tonight. It's usually about a 12 to 24
And that's
hour
fine.
lag. You could see a little bit.
The ETFs for oil, totally makes sense. I don't want to own hundreds of thousands of barrels. Futures, awesome in oil. Why? I don't want to own those barrels of oil. I
I
don't want them
can't.
sitting in
I
my
can't own them.
backyard.
I can't own
Right?
them.
I can't own them.
My
But
HOA won't allow me to store them in the
and
backyard.
and I can't really store a lot of silver and gold in my house. Can, but it puts me in a bad. But guess what I can store? Bitcoin. I can
Yeah.
store it and it's okay. Why would I buy the ETF? That's silly.
Well, right
Right?
now it's about how what your accountant tells you to do, and the accountant saying, "Listen, I know how to handle
Tell
IBIT.
your
It goes."
accountant to go to hell because quite frankly, he's stupid. Right?
Hey, listen, I'm just telling you what's happening. Listen, it's people like your dad buying. They're doing it through their brokerage account. When Schwab allows them to buy regular Bitcoin, they will. They don't want to get a Robinhood account. They don't want to get a Coinbase account.
2 years, people, even friends. Steve, what should I be investing in? What should I be investing in? But don't say Bitcoin. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing.
It's Bitcoin.
It's every, I whenever I go and I talk to people and I'm in webinars and stuff, the first thing they want to know is what's the newest, crypto that's going to be the next big thing. And I always say to them, the first thing you got to buy is Bitcoin. It just is, and it's proven out over this year, and it's just going to continue to prove itself. And if you don't think it can go 10x from here, you're wrong. And it will do it at an accelerated rate. And if you're Michael Saylor, you're saying that's going to happen in the next 5 years at 25% a year. So
Tom Lee just said we're going to 150,000 before the end of the year.
Yeah.
He has not been wrong yet.
We could hit it. Steve, I hear NVIDIA dropping. I didn't have it on my screen. Ron pointed out. Steve did already get out of that, just so you know, Ron. Not sure if you heard that. Steve got in and out of that real quick.
This morning, I kept my eyes peeled and tight, and I had my limit orders in, and then I pulled a market order because I thought, okay, let's take that money. 100,100 already in Bitcoin. Sorry, I missed that one. We're above what I said would be. I mean, there's already 100,200 now. So look, Sailor's having a fun day this morning. It looks like.
Yeah. And it looks like NVIDIA already bounced back from what Ron and I were just talking about. So I was a little delayed there. Sorry, Ron. Bounced back up. Already up 139 here again. Market's looking strong. What do you think we end up here, Steve? I got to put you on the spot. Hey, and just so you know, we don't have Stephen Flanagan today. He is on his family vacation.
Bank of America just raised PayPal to buy from neutral and raise.
That's what I said. I saw that this morning. Yeah. PayPal, they got an upgrade this morning. Like I said, there was a ton of upgrades out there this morning. A lot of them in that area: Robinhood, Schwab, PayPal. A lot of the fintech, a lot of the crypto-based ones. Those that want to watch something out there that's a little off the beaten path, keep an eye on Galaxy Digital. It is now trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Michael Novogratz's company. He has for years made it very clear that he wants to be part of NASDAQ. He is also very close with David Sachs, very close with the new administration. So if you want to look for a company that might gap up on the news. Yeah, Weekday also, Ron, is added to the S&P to go along with Apollo. And they are moving up on that news for sure. We've seen that happen on the last add-ins on the S&P. I will say, though, watch out for that. Workday might follow what we saw with Dell. It took a nice jump up, retraced a little bit before it actually saw the final move there. But I do think that you will see a move up here by most of these fintech companies over the next few weeks.
Looking at the tick now, for almost 400 still, and advanced decline line now at positive by 2,700 the most of the day. Yep. So there it is. NASDAQ only up by 4 and the Dow only up by 11, but yet the advanced decline line really high today. That tells me two things: that this is a stock pickers market, not a overall.
Well, it's also a move to the small caps up 7/10 here, right? So I think that's what's carrying it. So
my God. Oppenheimer just initiated the price target of the S&P 500 for next year.
4,500.
7,100.
7,100? Are they looking at the
Oppenheimer just said 7,100 year-end target. That is crazy.
Wow.
Good for them, man.
1,000. That'd be a 1,000-point move.
1,000-point move. That's right. That is very bullish.
That that you don't have to guess on that. That is extremely bullish.
Wow, looking at the dollar
moving up. See, Steve, today worries me. Everything's moving up in tandem again. We're having one of those days. Commodities are moving up. Equities are moving up. Bitcoin's moving up.
You know what's not moving up today is the dollar. The Dixie's slipping.
Nat gas moving up. Well, that's because they know Steve Flanagan's on vacation. So, he isn't holding the market. He's not holding the Dixie up for us today.
The dollar has done quite well here. Look, it's that's very simple,
yeah. Back below 106. He does think we're going to see one more spurt up to that 108 before it makes that final move down.
And there goes NVIDIA again, popping again, 139.26. So trying to hit that high of the day was 139.52. I did have an order to get out at 139.50, and I did suck it up, and I got out a little less than that. But
like we said, never be afraid to take profit. Again, I've just noticed that it was really respecting that 50-day MA a lot. Steve, while you were gone, I'm doing a little research on looking at some stocks that are approaching. There's a lot of stocks that are pretty big, Intuit, some others that are approaching their 200-day MA. And, I really like that as a bounce back point on a longer term as some of these, like we said, if we think S&P's going to 7,000 next year, I'm trying to look to see what I want to position myself in before these
Oppenheimer
changes.
says that, not me. I think that's a little bullish.
Oh, I didn't say you. I said, yeah, if that's what they think. Um, Steve, yeah, I was surprised. It looks like our man, Mr. Buffett, made a misplay on Ulta. Did you notice that they jumped up nicely after earnings last week? He got in there and out of there pretty quick. He had some less than diamond hands on that one.
Diamond hands with Mr. Buffett has not been a thing he's had lately. He continues to talk about having diamond hands, but he really has been a little nervous lately, and I think a lot of it has to do with his buddy not being around anymore, Charlie Munger, to keep him calm. 139.75 now on Nvidia. We nailed that this morning. Yeah.
Gotta say, it's surprising to see the market moving up this much with, most of the Mag 7 being negative. The only one really moving high to the upside is Tesla. Again, a lot of that on the stimulus news is in China. And again, Musk couldn't be in the news any more than he is right now. If we look at the sectors here across the spider sectors, we actually see that more of them are in the negative than the positive right now. But, XLY, discretionary, XLB, and energy are leading the way today. Seeing energy really moving up today, almost a point. That's
100,300 now on Bitcoin. We could go test those highs of 104,000, right?
Yeah, we haven't retested. We haven't retested it, so you definitely could see that happen. Trying to take a look here to see. Most of the alts down pretty significantly today, about 5% after really mooning up over the weekend. So again, these are still prices that are well above where they were.
And talk about things that are way out of whack. How about Juan Soto getting the
765
out of New York Mets? Look, if a guy's going to give back to charity, there he is. He's giving back to charity.
I have to say, the problem that you're going to run into at some point is they were showing what prices, the Dodgers have been the biggest spender, right? Do you know how much a beer is at Dodger Stadium next year? They just announced their prices.
Probably $30.
You just hit it exactly on the head, $30. $30 for a beer. How do you take your family to a ball game when a hot dog's $18?
It's very simple. When you are the land of glitz and Ritz, expect LA to be that way because it is Hollywood, right? And the price of being in Hollywood is very, very expensive. We get that. But what you've done is you screwed the rest of Major League Baseball, right? You've thrown that out. There needs to be revenue sharing, but look, they're going to pay tax on this overage, right? But
they just don't care. They keep doing these deferrals and these weird, again, they're using loopholes and things like that.
You know what? If you're a Dodgers fan, you're not really winning World Series. You're just paying. You're buying them. This is fine. Yeah. I understand that it sucks, but that's what happens in this world, right?
Yeah, it does. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, Steve Cohen definitely put his money where his mouth is. Again, as a fan, I get mad that the Red Sox aren't spending money anymore. Although they were pretty big into the soda, they said they'd offer him over $700 million.
I don't think anybody from Boston has anything to say about anything if you're over the age of 25. So just shut the hell up there.
No, it's kids under 25 that have nothing to say. They didn't live through. I lived through the 70s. Yeah, I lived through the 70s and the 80s when we just were terrible and just found new ways to implode.
You had the 90s and the early 2000s, so just be quiet over there, okay? I don't want at one time you had the Stanley Cup, the Super Bowl, and the World Series all the same.
And here's Steve, what I was going to bring up and didn't, but now Ron's mentioning it. He's saying that the same issue in Utah with the new hockey team. The prices that you have in, it's one thing like you said in LA for a $30 beer, but when you're in Cincinnati or you're in Utah and Columbus, here in Ohio for the hockey games. it's something that I actually look at. It is. I noticed it. We talk about Disney. Like we talk about. I have a season's pass for what is Six Flags here, Kings Island, and we get the meal plan because you can't afford to eat if you don't have it. It's crazy what they're charging. It was like $18 for a beer last night, and if you're gonna go watch Santa
I'm not
Claus.
putting $18 on a beer. I don't care.
No, I didn't. No, I only got what was on my meal plan. I drank my hot chocolate. Kept myself happy. As we end up here, Steve, we're going to be taking off here at 10 o'clock. I'm back with Agnieszka Woods at noon to do our trading mindset coach at noon. With Scott Bauer has an interesting one here. For those that don't know, the S&P is at a historically low rates if you're trying to buy some option premium on the downside here. So Scott's going to be back at 1 to talk about that. It might be time, as he always mentions.
Trump, President Trump's son, just says the United States can become a crypto superpower with sensible regulation. I agree. We need sensible regulation. We need regulation. No more of the Wild West. No more pumping crap coins out there. Go back to the way that's supposed to be. And I'm all about criminal prosecution of people pumping shit coins. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You know what? We're gonna use that as a teaser for tomorrow. We haven't talked about it, Steve. I know you're not on TikTok, so you might have no knowledge of this about Hawktua, the girl who got famous.
She should go to jail.
Rugged everybody, got caught rugging everybody. CoffeeZilla, who is one of the guys on YouTube who exposes these scams, does a really good job of getting people persecuted. Has been all over this, and Zach XBT.
Time for her to go, and she knew it too. She knew it was going to happen.
It's just terrible. You know what? I don't think she knew it was going to happen. I just think that her handlers knew it was going to happen.
Question, how do we make money? And they told her, we'll own a bunch of the coin and we'll just sell everything on everybody.
Yeah, they had 97% of it. They only released 3% and then sold it into the market. And it's one of those ones we talk about here all the time. If you're taking your life savings and putting it into a meme coin about a girl who said about spitting on somebody's,
you deserve to lose.
Got a problem. That is not where we look. And like I said, I started to say before is no one likes that I tell everybody that Bitcoin is the first crypto you should buy. It is. Yeah. It's not sexy. It's like when you tell people maybe to put money, in their retirement in the S&P or NASDAQ, and they don't get excited. They want you to tell them the next, master in MicroStrategy. Don't be afraid, as our friend Dr. Alan Ellman says, to hit singles and doubles all day, because Wade Boggs made a lot of money doing that, right?
Pete Rose is no longer here either, so I get it.
All right. Okay, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you for joining on